and welcome back to another episode of the Hero You podcast. I am your host, Matt Hitt, and I hope wherever you are in the world that you're making it a great day. And I thank you for joining me on my quest to help as many people unlock their hero within. With each episode, it is my mission to share ideas, thoughts, and stories to elevate your thinking and have you challenge your limited beliefs to ultimately unlock your best self and bring forth generational change. So, with that goal in mind, let the show begin. In today's episode, I want to talk to you about living with more passion and living fearlessly. Passion is an intense emotion that runs deep within us, igniting enthusiasm and a sense of purpose. It's a driving force that propels us to pursue activities, values, and dreams with relentless energy and unwavering commitment. Passion transcends mere interest or enjoyment. It's the fire that fuels our innermost desires and keeps us motivated, even in the face of challenges. Living with passion means engaging in pursuits that truly matter to us, where we can lose ourselves in a moment and feel a profound sense of fulfillment. It's about connecting with what makes us feel alive, purposeful, and excited to wake up each day. Passion isn't just about what we do. It's about aligning our actions with our deepest values and identity. Passions can manifest in various aspects of our lives, from careers and hobbies to relationships and personal growth. When we follow our passions, we unlock our potential, find our joy in our endeavors, and inspire others around us. Living passionately leads to a richer, more vibrant life where we continuously seek growth, achievement, and impact. So the question, I have two questions. One, how do we know what we are passionate about? And two, how do we incorporate it in some way, shape, or form every day, or at least as often as we can? To start answering that question, I want us to be able to recognize passion when we see it. Passion comes in a few characteristics. One, intensity. When you're engaged, time just disappears. You have no concept of it. Two, joy and excitement. When you are engaged in something you are excited about and brings you joy, it's always something you get to do. It's never something you have to do. That's why so many will have you reframe things that you don't necessarily like to do by changing your approach to it as something you get to do rather than not have to do. Just reframing that and believing it can change your approach to anything you do and bring a different energy to the project or even problem. Number 3, when you are engaged in something you are passionate about, you are resilient without feeling like you need to be resilient. It's just part of what's going on. You engage in flow, and before you know it, you have moved a mountain. Number 4, you are always prioritizing these things. They take up time in your head, or you're researching these things when you're not even currently engaged in the task or completing something. Number 5, passion brings a positive attitude. No matter how hard the task, your approach, it has with it a positive attitude. Think of Sheldon Cooper from The Big Bang Theory when he is engaged in organizing. For many, it's a task we don't even want to touch, but for him, it's almost like a trip to Disneyland. Number 6, progress happens organically. You are not micromanaging its progress. When you are done or take a break, you look and you're always further along than you thought. So, I wanted to share the symptoms of being engaged in something you're passionate about because oftentimes we don't know. So, hopefully, this helps us recognize when we're engaged in it. Another important thing is our passion can work as a time machine. It can transport us to another time and place, like Legos, books, collecting cards, working on a computer, or Rubik's Cubes. You can be engaged in those, and everything else just doesn't exist. People can make you feel the same way. When you are with them, time isn't something that exists. And just the opposite, when we're engaged in something we're not passionate about, 10 minutes can feel like 3 days. These things can change over time, but are usually hardwired in our DNA because of our beliefs we have stored away in our subconscious. For example, I'm a Chiefs fan, and I have a wall of Chief cards. And they're not the most expensive cards or even the best players, but they are all tied to a memory that I can share a story about. I used to have walls of sports memorabilia, but as I got older, I realized I wasn't tied to much of it. They were just good players. So when our kids were born and the space in my house started to disappear, being replaced by kid stuff, I kept up the things that brought out the emotion. I would challenge you to do an inventory of the things that you have done in the last year. What jumps out at you? What is something that you remember vividly that brought you joy? Relive that moment. Were you engaged in something you were passionate about? I would make a list of those things and incorporate them as often as humanly possible. I would even check and see if these things can be engaged as a service or money making opportunity. When you are engaged in things you love, you never work a day in your life. I took my kids to a Lego store, and there was a young lady working there, and she had the biggest smile on her face. She was great with my kids. Joined them as they were looking through Legos to help them find stuff. That perfect piece. The service was exceptional. It was the best service I'd ever seen. When we were checking out, I mentioned to her about how impressed I was with her approach to customers. I even asked her if she was the owner, because in my opinion, that's what an owner should be acting like. She said no, she was only working there, but it was the greatest job in the world. I know it wasn't the highest paying job, but she loved it. And when your work and passions are aligned, it's so much easier to live a more fulfilling life. Isn't that the goal? Live life on your terms and feeling joy and fulfillment every day. Sign me up for that. We just feel we can't do those things because of the lifestyle we have doesn't match. If we have two car payments and a mortgage payment, it might limit what you can do on the scale you would like to do it. But those are the choices we make to remove us from the simplicity of the moments. It's hard to live life inspired when we are paying for things we don't really need to impress people or send a statement to people that we have arrived and we're doing well. That leads to more debt and less freedom. I would like to tell you about two people I met in passing that I admire for their approach on life. The first one is Miranda. Miranda was visiting the United States for a few months when I had the chance to talk with her, and she had a glow about her that was just special. She was from Turkey, and she was part of a summer work program with a local business. As we started talking, I found out she spoke 5 languages, all at a pretty high level. She had always wanted to travel ever since she was a young girl. She was 25 and had already visited 16 countries. She showed me her passport, and it was filled with stamps, and she was full of stories on her journeys. I asked her how she was able to save up money to go on these trips. She told me she would research exchange programs. In fact, she was just in Ireland for a year on an exchange program, and she was working in the US for the summer to pay for her next trip. She didn't mind working because it made her and forced her to not only see the culture but engage in it. She credited that for her ability to learn languages. But she would always do work here and there, and that's how she would pay for it. I was really impressed by her resourcefulness. She had done more traveling in 8 years than most do in a lifetime. I asked her how many more stops she had. She smiled and replied, "Oh, I'm just getting started." I told her I had no doubt. Her story reminded me a little of Santiago from The Alchemist. As he was on his journey to the pyramids, he would stop and do tasks and work along the way to help him pay for the next step in his journey, oftentimes not really having a plan or money for the next step, but always finding a way. The next person I want to talk to you about was Jake. I met Jake while conducting interviews, and while we were looking at his resume, we had a 2-year gap between jobs and a few different positions in a short time. When we interviewed him, we asked him about the position jumping, as he was only in positions for about 6 months. He said most of that happened when he was out of high school and was discovering who he was and what he wanted to do. He didn't want to waste his time or the company's time if it wasn't a good fit. That's not good for business, and he wasn't able to perform his best, and it wasn't an efficient use of his time of self-discovery. He said his last job was the one he really liked and felt it could be a long-term solution, and it was in finance, so he wanted to get back into it. I asked him why he left the last job if he felt like it was a really good fit. He shared with me that he had been involved in motocross since he was old enough to straddle a bike. He spent all his free time riding and was really passionate about it. He then shared that the only reason he left was because he got a chance to pick up a ride on a pro tour. It was his dream, and he couldn't pass it up. But the last ride, he was in an accident, and it messed him up pretty good, and it made riding professionally pretty hard. He shared how great of an opportunity it was for him, and he just had to do it. He knows that he can ride for fun, but not at the level that he needs to be for a chance to do it professionally. But he wouldn't have changed that opportunity for anything. I left that interview very impressed with him. He's the kind of guy that if discovering himself was given the chance to choose his dream or moving over the ladder, he would pick his dream 100% of the time, even if it was for 2 years. How many of us never get the chance to live our dream, even for a day? My interviewing partner shared she didn't like how he would jump around, but I share the opposite. This is an individual who has figured out more than most. How often do we find people who are in the same job for 10 years, don't like it, or aren't even looking for a new one, or in pursuit of their dreams because it's too hard, or are just fine with being fine? If he is truly passionate about finance, as he said he was, I have no doubt he would be a rock star because of the passion in his voice about what he wanted and how he approached life. Someone asked me what would be my approach if I had multiple responsibilities, but were in a job they didn't like and they were passionate about making furniture. They asked me if they should just quit or jump into the business full time. I asked them if they had made furniture to sell previously and how it went. He shared with me that he had sold about 8 pieces, and all of them did pretty well. I asked him if he was getting requests and how he was selling them. I then asked him how many pieces of furniture he could make and how many pieces he could sell in a month to help completely supplement his income. He said about 8 to 10 a month. He had never made that many in a month before, but he had never had a need to. I told him that not everyone can or should jump in and leave their corporate job to follow their dream. Others should and need to. I told him to make as many pieces of furniture as he could in a month, while maintaining the quality, obviously, and see how many he could sell while working his 9 to 5. Then, once he had done that for a couple of months, see how much of his income he could replace. If the amount works, leave the job. If it doesn't, maybe look at less hours on the corporate side and continue to make the shift from corporate to dream job. There is no answer that's a one-size-fits-all. Some will have a panic attack, and their dream will become a nightmare. Others will take that challenge and embrace it, and it's the reason they will knock it out of the park. If it's financial obligations you're worried about, prioritize those. Pay those off as fast as you can. Maybe downgrade or downsize to make these things happen. If finances are the things in your way, you don't get to avoid them. By taking your finances head on and eliminating them, that's allowing you to follow your dream because it's directly aligned with achieving what you want. It's part of your journey. Don't use it as an excuse or just ignore it. I'm here today to tell you your best life is out there, and start with 30 minutes a day. I call it the daily 30 minimum. 30 minutes working on your dream life, then add to it. But you have to be consistent about it. You will know when to go 30 minutes to an hour to 5 hours to full time because you won't be as fulfilled. You will want and desire to do it more. You will know because you will have that distinct thought, hey, it's time. That will be followed by a wave of doubt. That's when you know it's time. You are at the doorway and it's your time to show faith. This life was created for us to live the fullest, not to be order takers and make money. By the way, a currency that is not accepted in the next life. Think about that. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. It is my goal that everyone can take the next step towards their dream life, whatever that step is. Remember, if you would like more information or content, please check out herouint.com or follow us on social at herouint and like and subscribe and share, as there are many out there that feel imprisoned by their life and they are not sure how to get out, or they're just looking for a glimmer of hope that something else is out there. Thank you again for listening. It's listeners like you that make it all worth it. But information is just information until implemented. Then it becomes empowering. Until next time, Hero Nation, cheers and God bless.